after Republican Speaker Mike Johnson accidentally gave the game away and revealed that he and Donald Trump intend to repeal the wildly popular Obamacare if they win the upcoming election, Trump is now publicly panicking, insisting that he doesn't want to do that, and he never wanted to do that. And now Mike Johnson is scurrying back to Fox News to try to clean the whole mess up, and it's hilarious, and we have to talk about it. But before we do, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, friends, this is so good. Remember, the election is perilously close. Donald Trump could win, but anything matters, right? Any mistake made by either party, by either candidate, could be outcome determinative. Could be, okay? As you know, Obamacare is wildly popular, and it's the flagship piece of domestic legislation from President Obama, the man whom Donald Trump hates above all others, including Joe Biden and Vice President Harris. So you saw what Mike Johnson said. We did a video about this where he revealed to supporters that if he and Donald Trump win the upcoming election, they intend to do some serious undercutting of Obamacare, that they intend to take the legs out from under it. Well, that sent ripples throughout the political space, and Donald Trump is now publicly panicking. This is what he said. Lion Kamala is giving a news conference now saying, I want to end the Affordable Care Act. I never mentioned doing that, never even thought about such a thing. Note that. She also said, I want to end Social Security. Likewise, never mentioned it or thought of it. She is the one who wants to end Social Security, and she will do it by putting the millions of migrants coming into our country into it. Kamala is a liar. Everything that comes out of her mouth is a lie. It's a made-up fiction, and she's doing it because she's losing and losing big. Seems more like panicking and floundering than anything that's actually persuasive. As somebody pointed out, Donald Trump's promise to repeal Obamacare isn't just a matter of fact. It was actually a matter of public record on his own 2016 website when he ran for president. Healthcare reform to make America great again. And it concludes, none of these positive reforms can be accomplished without Obamacare repeal. On day one of the Trump administration, we will ask Congress to immediately deliver a full repeal of Obamacare. It is a matter of fact that Donald Trump campaigned on repealing the ACA. Anyone who tells you otherwise, including Trump, is a liar or a moron, or like Trump, both, okay? And before we get to Mike Johnson, I really want to drive this point home. When Donald Trump did win the 2016 election, he had, reasonable, I should say, majorities in both chambers of Congress in the sense that he actually had control of the federal government, not just the White House, but also the House, also the Senate, and also the Supreme Court. Total unified government under Trump. But this guy is so stupid, so incompetent, so antithetical to the deal-maker persona he tries to present himself as that when he tried to repeal Obamacare, he failed. John McCain famously killed Donald Trump's attempts to, in turn, kill Obamacare. How McCain tanked Obamacare repeal. This is from July 28th, 2017. Paul Ryan, then the Speaker of the House, a Republican, couldn't persuade him. Neither could Mike Pence, the then Vice President of the United States. And in the end, President Donald Trump couldn't reel in John McCain either. Donald Trump made a last-ditch effort, calling the Arizona senator and key holdout on the GOP's Obamacare repeal measure as the bill's fate hung in the balance, according to two sources familiar with the conversation. After Pence had spent about 20 minutes working McCain, the senator went off the floor to speak with Trump by phone, those sources said. Whatever the men said, it didn't work. Shortly before 1:30 a.m. Friday, McCain strode into the well of the Senate and gestured his hand downward to a vote no. Stunned gasps echoed throughout the chamber. It is a fact that the Trump-led Republican Party acted on Trump's demand to repeal Obamacare, and they failed just only because John McCain dissented. Donald Trump tried to strike down Obamacare, and when that didn't work, he tried to get the Supreme Court to do it in 2020 during the height of the COVID pandemic. Tens of thousands of Donald Trump's constituents were dying. And he went to the Supreme Court asking them to strike down health care, covering millions, 23 million Americans at the time. As of now, there are about 45 million Americans who are covered by the ACA, and its approval ratings are very high. It's one of the third rails of politics. Donald Trump is lying unambiguously. There's no room for clever reinterpretation. He is simply lying to the American people. He campaigned on striking down the ACA. He made multiple attempts to strike down and to destroy the ACA. And now he desperately wants you to believe He doesn't want to do that. He actually supports the ACA. And that is why, getting back to Mike Johnson, the guy who created this mess, because Trump said in April, I'm not going to do anything with the Affordable Care Act. And then, of course, during the September debate against Vice President Harris, Trump famously said, I have concepts of a plan for healthcare. Mike Johnson, who again gave the game away, is now also panicked and going back to Fox News and desperately trying to clean up the mess.
And they're twisting our words. So, yes, I was at one of these events in Pennsylvania a few days ago, and a question came up about Obamacare, and I answered it very specifically. I said the ACA, unfortunately, is deeply ingrained in our healthcare system now. Do we need further improvements? Absolutely. We need to expand quality of care, access to care, and obviously lower the cost of healthcare. And I started talking about that. Well, they took a clip out of context and said that I said we were promising to repeal Obamacare. That's just not what I said. It's actually the opposite of that.
Yeah. So nobody believes that what Mike Johnson said when he repeated back, no Obamacare, and it's deeply ingrained and we need to find a way to undercut it, that he was actually saying, no, we need to protect Obamacare at all costs, especially when Trump has a long and sordid history of going after the ACA. This is what they do. It's so interesting. They demand the ultimate form of charity, an insane level of charity. They want you, listen, don't believe anything we've said in the past. Don't believe anything that we've done in the past. Just believe us now, which is in total contradiction to everything we've ever said and done with respect to Obamacare, and just trust that we will protect it. No, Mike Johnson. No, especially when that clip made it abundantly clear that you consider the ACA an obstacle, a threat, something to undermine. You think it's an impediment to the quote unquote free market approach to healthcare. Nobody trusts you on this. And Americans should be made aware, right? This is so funny. Yeah, you know that guy, Donald Trump, who, when he was president, lied more than 30,000 times? We have documentation to prove it. We need you to trust him and trust that he will do the exact opposite of one of the few things he spent rigorous political capital to try to do in the first place. He hates Obama. Therefore, he hates Obamacare. He campaigned on repealing Obamacare. He tried in Congress, in front of our very faces, to repeal Obamacare. John McCain stopped him. Trump doesn't get credit for that because John McCain did the exact opposite of what Trump wanted him to do. When it failed in Congress, he tried to get his right-wing majority Supreme Court to do it. That didn't work. And he tried to do it during a pandemic. Donald Trump, in a metaphor, this is a metaphor, but hopefully it will help some people out there who may not understand. Donald Trump is like a guy who repeatedly tries to commit attempted murder. And then he wants you to believe he's not going to try it again. And you should trust him because he failed in the previous murder attempts. Well, doesn't mean that you would not be successful in a future attempt. And we have no reason to believe that you won't try again, especially when you have a long history of doing it, which is absolutely ridiculous stuff from Mike Johnson. I should also say, with respect to this interview that he conducted on Maria Bartiromo, in which he was trying desperately to clean up the mess he made, where Donald Trump's political vulnerability on Obamacare and healthcare might be outcome determinative, might cost Trump the election. He also, speaking of the election, had this to say.
Because haven't we all heard this before? During the midterms, we thought we were going to see a red wave. Last election, we thought we were going to see another win, that it was so obvious that the policies on the right were better than the left, and yet it did not materialize.
No, it didn't, and there are a lot of reasons for that, and we could spend a whole segment unpacking what happened the last couple of cycles, but what I'll tell you is that this time really is different. I mean, people understand that there is a clear choice this time, that they've had a Trump administration, they remember what that was like, and now they've lived under a Harris and Biden administration, and the comparison is very stark. And so I think this election is going to be about record over rhetoric. I think people are looking at the reality of things. Kamala Harris is running a campaign totally on fantasy over fact, but the American people are smart, and they're not buying it. And her angry rhetoric and the way that they've closed this campaign says everything. That she's an empty suit. It's less than that, actually. She's actually a costume, not an empty suit. She's trying to pretend she's something she's not. But people...
Yeah, so I'm not sure exactly what he's talking about. It's so funny that they talk about angry rhetoric when Donald Trump has effectively monopolized it. And again, Maria Bartiromo is right to be wary. I think, listen, Democrats, we tend to worry about these things. Republicans can do what they want. I suppose they're entitled to be, smug about it, I guess. And then if they lose, that would just make the rest of us much more smug in how we deal with them. If for no other reason then it might prevent the crow you have to eat if it doesn't go your way. You might just want to temper your expectations, right? This election's a coin flip. Trump could win. Harris could win. And he has certainly, no doubt, he has many polling advantages, but so does she. And it could go either way. And that's why what Mike Johnson did by revealing that he and Trump intend to torpedo Obamacare if they win this election, that might be it. That might be the ball game. Not necessarily, but it could be, because again, when it's so close, any little disruption can swing the balance any which way. And Mike Johnson might do well to remember that and heed Maria Bartiromo's caution, which is, chill out. You guys said you'd win in 2020. You didn't. You said you'd win the 2021 Senate elections. You lost both Senate seats in Georgia, which was a red state. Two Republicans were kicked out and replaced by two Democrats. You said you'd win the 2022 midterms. You didn't. You said you would win the 2023 off-year elections. You didn't. Maybe temper your expectations, but Republicans seem to be very arrogant about this. Let's not make this mistake. Let's not make their mistake. Let's not be complacent. Those of you who are eligible voters, make sure you have a plan to vote. If you're not registered, check and see if your state and your local district permit, same-day voter registration. Many places do, where you can go to the polling place, you can register to vote, and you can vote right there. You can do all of them. If you're a registered voter, please make sure you have a plan to vote. I early voted earlier today, as a matter of fact. And if we turn out and we turn up, we win. Food for thought. In the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments.